interesting thought process.
That's a great question.
Oh, that's really hard. Oh my God, I didn't realize this was going to be like this.
Wow, that's a good question.
Another good but difficult question.
Welcome to Casual Conversations with your host, Mike Oppenheim.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Oppenheim, and you are listening to an episode of Casual Conversations. And as always, this show is reserved for me to do whatever I feel like with my guests. And so sometimes I have experts on, sometimes I have my brother on, sometimes, well, rarely I talk about myself. But in this case, I actually have an acquaintance from childhood, middle school, high school, and beyond. Her name is Erin Wright, and I'm going to let her walk us through her life story because she's going through a lot of BS right now, and I want to help her as best I can. And so when I checked in and just kind of reflected on how to help her, what I want to do is just give her a spot and a voice and let people listen. And then that way, anyone who wants to support her or help her can contact her privately, and I'll make sure I have a channel for that, but I'll figure it out after the interview. So for now, just sit tight and listen. This is a story of someone's life and the many twists and turns it can take. But I will say before Erin starts talking that I imagine if you held up a yearbook from my graduating class of 1999 with about 330 people in it, I would guess every single person, if you pointed at a picture of Erin, would say she was very nice and she was a very well-intentioned, good person. And so I can say that as like the highest of high compliments, that even though I don't know her super closely personally, every single memory I have of her, including like my debut at elementary school as a new kid in 4th grade, is her being like extremely nice. So with that introduction, Erin, how are you doing?
Hi, Mike. Thank you. I'm going to attempt not to cry right now because that was a really nice introduction. My gosh, thank you. I don't hear a lot of compliments recently with everything going on, so I do appreciate it and appreciate this time that you're giving me.
Cool. And it's very nice to connect with you whenever I do. And I've just seen you over the years, and I always remembered you as being nice. And then every time I met you, you were even nicer. And so we'll kind of get into your life story. But let's start with, were you born and raised in the Bay Area?
I was born and raised Bay Area, entered the Orinda scene at about 8 years old. My folks are still out there. I'm still friends with hundreds, if not thousands of people from that area. I still know a lot of the, ins and outs of what's going on over there. And gosh, I lived in the Bay Area 40 years.
Yeah, and I left voluntarily, but also with the incentive of selling a house there and getting the heck out of Dodge. So, and then it's kind of a weird coincidence, but you're here in Phoenix, Arizona, right?
I am. I'm outside of Phoenix. Wasn't a place I ever imagined myself being in, nor had I ever really visited. But here I am and attempting now to make a life for myself and my son here. My son was born in the Bay Area. Great friends, great family back there. But a lot going on that makes it difficult for a full-time single mom to raise a kid there on her own. So I'm hoping for better options here, but life has given us the twists and turns like you mentioned, and starting over at the age of 42 in the desert was not on my list of to-dos this year, like at all. We're back in the rebuilding stage. Never fun.
That's crazy. It's really weird because I was 35 or 36 when I had to rebuild and start over in the desert, and it's crazy to hear someone from my early formative years say the identical thing, but with just like 4 or 5, 6 years later. I've adjusted, and I've definitely have a new life, and I'm positive of one thing, which is you will be saying the same thing, whether it's here in Arizona or not. I can tell you that it's so weird, but every positive person you talk to who says don't quit, don't give up when life hands you like a giant sandwich, they're not full of it, and they really are right. There's just this weird timing and structure and order to it, but that's why I'm investing in you, is because I know you have that fighting spirit, and so I want to fan the flames of that fighting spirit, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Well, there's no choice not to have that spirit anymore, especially when you have kids involved. It's my son who has probably gone through the most difficulty, the most inconsistency, the most highs and lows. And even now is struggling to adjust to a different life again. And I feel like he's just constantly in transition. And when they're young and little like that, that's not what you want for them. You want to give them structure. You want to give them consistency. You want to give them relationships that are going to last. And, balancing what he's going through now, it's a lot. So keeping him happy, you'll still see us out there. I'm still going to go find farms and parks and, we're going to the concert in the park tonight. He still deserves a life amidst all this, what did you call it? The sandwich that we are being served. He still deserves to have a life. He still deserves to see his mom smile once in a while, which is very rare nowadays. And that kills me.
Yeah, so we're going to build back to like exactly what's going on now, and we'll get there pretty quickly for people listening. But I think what I want to ask you first is just kind of like, what's your philosophy on responsibility for the bad things that happen to you versus like, hey, I have no control? Like, what's your line in that weird internal battle?
Hey everyone, that's it for the free version of this podcast. If you want to hear the full one, just head over to mikeyop.com and become a premium subscriber. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks for listening.